Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Vicky Walker. I'm the Group People Director for Westfield Health. Westfield Health is an organisation that looks after corporate wellbeing through from health cash plans, gym management and health and wellbeing webinars. I'm stood here talking to you today with 22 years plus HR experience in a variety of sectors. So hopefully I'm relatable as well and you're able to get something from this session. So I want to start really I've been asked to talk about wellbeing and what does wellbeing mean. And it means so many things to so many different people. But I thought if I could have a show of hands first, how important is wellbeing to you and your organisation? It'd be great to see a show of hands if it is. It's great. And how many of you actually have a wellbeing strategy and a plan around wellbeing? Great to see a few of you, but not as many as people that feel it's important. I think we all know it's important in the workplace around wellbeing, but actually how much time, effort and energy do we give to wellbeing of our employees? So it's really important, where do we start? Should we have a wellbeing strategy? What does it actually mean to say it on paper? So I thought we'd start with some facts. Now, I've worked in HR a long time. People are my thing, not numbers. So I apologise. I'm not statistically driven, but I think it's really important that we really think about where we get our numbers from and why we do the things that we do to make sure that we don't just do things for the sake of doing it. I think if we look at some of those statistics, and I'll just pull a couple out. Mental health days cost the UK businesses alone £12.6 billion. That's a huge amount of money, and if we're sat here thinking about our organisations, what are we doing around that? We've absolutely got to take some responsibility. 43% said that their mental health has got worse since the start of the pandemic, and I'm sure that some of you feel that about your own mental well-being as well. We've got loads more statistics if some of you are more statistic driven than myself, and a great report on our website for you to have a look at to be able to understand some of the numbers. So some of you may recognise this quote, but I think I refer to our earlier show of hands that, we think wellbeing's important, but we don't actually have a plan to address wellbeing. So we have plans in HR, in marketing, in finance, organisational plans about what we're going to do in the future. But as I said, how many of us have any plans around culture and around well-being? Or is it that we just let it happen? It's just something that happens as a result of. But I think if we're thinking about our culture, we should really have a plan. Any great organisational plan without great culture means nothing. The well-being of your people and how your people feel within your organisation can either destroy a great organisational plan, or it can absolutely make your organisation perform better than you've ever thought. So this is a great famous quote by Peter Drucker, for some of you that know him or know of him, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And as we said, a terrible culture in your organisation means that your organisation won't perform consistently, no matter how much you feel you want it to. And again, it shouldn't just happen. Culture shouldn't just be a thing that you go on a path. How many of you at the start of the year or at the start of your journey in a new organisation really set the direction of what you want your culture to be? So I did that when I joined Westfield Health, and I've penned my culture around driving performance through wellbeing. It's really, really important to me that my colleagues within my organisation feel happy, healthy and engaged. Now, it doesn't mean to say we get it right all of the time, but that's absolutely what I want us to aspire to do. Our experience tells us, the statistics tell us, that when people are happy, healthy and engaged, they have a better performance. How many times do we hear the old phrase saying happy colleagues mean happy customers? Happy, healthy and engaged, as I'm saying, really make sure that your performance of your organisation improves. And this is about when I penned performance, well, what does performance actually look like then, Vicky? What do you mean by that? And I think performance for me is about people making sure that they can perform to their best of their ability consistently. So it's not that we get a one-hit wonder, someone's doing something great one day and then they're terrible performers the next day. So this is about driving consistent performance to the best of that person's ability. So, as I said earlier, well-being means so many different things to so many different people. It can be financial well-being, it can be mental well-being, it can be flexible working, women's health. We've heard a lot around the menopause in the press recently. There's so many different things, and it means so many things to so many different people. So it's around making sure that what you create around your well-being and your culture and your organisation fits right for your people. My well-being strategy won't be right in your organisations because there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. The average person spends 80,000 hours of their time in work. Imagine coming to work every day, hating what you do, not feeling engaged, not feeling valued. It's a long time. I see some sighs and some blows thinking, oh my God, 80,000 hours. It's a lot of time. It's got to be more than just the salary at the end of each month. You've got to enjoy what you do. You've got to feel engaged. You've got to feel valued. It's so important to keep the great people that you've got within your organisation. What I would say as well is we've seen a shift, haven't we, around the well-being of what people expect. And I'm not going to stand up here and not mention the pandemic. People in the last 2.5 years have really taken stock of their lives and actually thought about what's important to them. What does well-being mean to them? And I think people have got more comfortable with talking to their employer around what they expect from work and what they want from their line managers than they ever have. It's made people evaluate what's important in life and where they spend their free time. And I think, well-being, it's gone from having free fruit in the office. We all used to talk about that. Oh, we give you an apple every week. Oh, aren't we good? Well, actually, it's absolutely more than that, isn't it? It's absolutely shifted. And what our employees want around well-being is more than this free apple or orange every week. It's absolutely got to be more than that. It's got to be a whole of workforce solution. We're seeing that people now are wanting hybrid working, people at home, people in the offices, people out in other organisations. It's got to be a whole of workforce solution, and recognising that one size really doesn't fit all. We've seen a shift in demand when you're out there recruiting people. People don't just want to know how much you're going to pay them at the end of every month. They want to know what well-being, how do you care for me when I'm in work? How flexible are you? What do you do for my mental, physical and financial well-being? So it's really understanding that as well. So it's where do you start if you're thinking about creating a great well-being culture? And what I would say is listen. I don't overcomplicate things. I think we can overcomplicate things in HR. I think HR is quite simple, really. I'm not saying it's not easy. I think it's simple. What I say, it's about listening to people, taking the time to really listen to what your employees in your organisation want. Don't pay lip service to pretend you're listening, but listen to what they're saying. Talk to them. Be inquisitive. Be curious. Ask questions and then react on what they're asking you to do. But be realistic. We know more than anybody as HR professionals. We haven't got a blank checkbook. We have to make friends with the finance director to get 50p to buy a pen. So it's not about spending loads and loads of money, but it's about being realistic. Your employees might have a wish list of 1,000 things, but actually going back to them on the things you can do and the things you can't. There's nothing more frustrating when you're asking employees for feedback and tell us what you want. You just leave them hanging when they don't know what it is that they want, what you can't deliver what it is they're asking. So make sure you go back and really educate and talk to them about the why you can't if it's a no, and how you evolve it as well. Lead from the top. Think about your own well-being as well as your colleagues. Think about how you can be an advocate of practicing what you preach. We hear the saying about being on an aeroplane, putting on your own gas mask before you help others. That's the same with well-being. Who cares for the carers? Who's caring for you as HR professionals when you're trying to put these things in place? So really think about how you practice what you preach and how you lead from the top. What I'd say, it's an everyday thing, wellbeing and culture. It's not just a tick box. Don't put on a seminar or create a policy that gets stuffed in a drawer or saved on a hard drive to collect dust. This is about how you treat people day in, day out, consistently. It's not always about getting it right, it's learning from our mistakes. But again, it's equally not just doing something to say, oh, I've ticked that box, we've put on a wellbeing webinar this month, that's that. The fact that people aren't clear on their priorities or their workload's too big that they can't even attend the webinar. So think about some of the basics. Make it inclusive. As I've said, what makes well-being right for one person isn't well-being for somebody else. So really think about the differences within your organisation. Be fluid. Things change all the time. What's important and what's buzz around well-being this month might not be in 6 months' time. So really be fluid and adaptable to change. And don't worry about repeating some of the things that you're doing and saying with your people. Sometimes it takes more than once to talk to people about well-being for it to land. We know it's about creating new habits. And measure success. So talk to your people about what's working and what's not and be open to that feedback. So it's sort of where do I start? Where would you start if you were thinking about a wellbeing strategy around your culture? And as I said, talk to people and ask people. The quickest and easiest way is to use a survey. There's loads of free surveys, things that you can use out there. So create a survey. Think about what it is you could, ask around your employees. As I've said before, give them the voice, and that's the easiest way to do it. But think of really simple things that you can do. How many of your meetings are on Zoom and on Teams? When you could say, why don't we pick up the old-fashioned telephone and go for a walk and talk? Why do we have to be sat in front of a box all of the time? Help people understand what their workload and priorities are. You may be surprised that sometimes in terms of people's well-being, the only reason they're struggling with their well-being is because they feel so overwhelmed they don't know where to start with their tasks and what they need to achieve. Think about individual personalities. As I said before, what means for well-being for one person doesn't always necessarily mean the same for everybody else. Think about how you can train your managers to help managers have those conversations. Because saying to a manager, have you talked to people about well-being? They'll be like, well, where do I start? What does that mean? So think about how you can help your managers have the right conversations and make sure that you over-communicate. I don't think you can ever say you communicate too much. Your people will never say, they talk to me too much. You'll never get that feedback from your employees. I just thought a little bit about some habits. You might recognise some of those things. We know when you think about change and culture and doing things differently, it takes time to change things, it takes time to create new habits and come out of old habits. So there's just a few up there that I thought you might resonate with. And it doesn't mean to say you'll do these all of the time or you'll avoid the bad ones all of the time. But I think it's important to think about how can you make shorter meetings. Every meeting that goes in is always an hour, isn't it? Or 30 minutes. Why can't it be 45 minutes? Why can't it be 20 minutes? So think about how you can adapt the way that you work to create some new great habits. So I said about our culture being driving performance through well-being, and you've got to start somewhere. And I'm really lucky the fact that I work for an organisation that is a health and well-being organisation. You might say that's lucky, but sometimes that comes with pressure too around these kind of subjects. How can I stand here and preach to you? It's so important to have well-being. If I don't do it myself, I wouldn't be authentic. So thinking about how our organisation is that to not only think about our people, because our people is no different to yours. My organisation still has its issues like yours does. I still have IT guys that want to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours and doesn't want to move or doesn't want to communicate, won't fill in a survey. We have exactly the same issues as any other organisation. We're over 100 years old, and comes with that is great legacy, but also comes with that the difficulty to get people to change as well. So again, I'm not stood up here saying we've got it right all of the time. It's making sure we thought about the basics when we did it, get back to basics, make sure people understand what their job role is that they've been recruited for, how we measure their performance, and how we introduce wellbeing within it. I've just put up there a comment from our chief exec around wellbeing, and having somebody on your side as one of your senior stakeholders really goes a long way to help practice again what you preach and leading from the top around wellbeing. And he will often have walk-in meetings where he's shouting the dog at me. He's shouting the dog to come back because it's ran off whilst we're trying to talk about some performance issue. But actually, when I think about it, we are then generating that behaviour is okay. It's okay to be outside in the fresh air and talk about serious stuff as well. We haven't got to be sat in an office over a table talking about things. I think the pandemic gave us an opportunity to try and get into the 21st century. We were very archaic. You work from home. Oh, you're skiving. You're not doing a proper day's work. But actually, the pandemic gave us an opportunity to change the way that we worked and really think about how we adapt to new styles of working and that people are expecting from us as well. And we don't get it right all of the time. We're on a learning journey as well. But I think it's something that can be overcomplicated around when you think about well-being of your people, but you've got to start somewhere. In terms of measuring success, so you might say, oh, she stood up there, yeah, she works for a health and wellbeing organisation, she spouted all this, how does she know it's working? So we've just had my Investors in People review this month, and I'm so proud to be the leader of a HR team that delivers these kind of results. To say that 96.8% of my people tell us it's a great place to work, that tells me we're doing something right with wellbeing. Of course, there's room for improvement, but actually I can stand up here with some genuine feelings that I know that what we're doing is right, and we're really trying to listen to our people. It's not just IIP, we do regular people pulse surveys to check that we're on track. Business partnering, so from my HR business partnering point of view, really having that anecdotal feedback, getting that temperature check on what's happening in each teams. We hold business updates, so our chief exec will come on Zoom across our group. So we operate in 4 countries to be able to talk to them about business performance, and again give opportunity for questions and answers so they really feel that they can have that two-way conversation. So to summarise, what I would say is not one size fits all. There isn't, I can't give you a golden thread to be able to say this is how to do it in your organisation. All of you will be very different. What you need from a cultural strategy and a wellbeing strategy will be very different to what I do. What I'd say is it's not a piece of paper. This is about how you treat your people day in, day out. This is how you practice what you preach. This is how you think about your own well-being as well. So how can you look after the well-being of your organisation if you don't look after your own? And it should be a whole of workforce, so really thinking about how you can make that inclusive. Be open-minded. Again, don't be judgmental around what's important for you is important for them. And please don't overcomplicate it. Wellbeing in organisations can be so simple. Moving a meeting from a Zoom to a walk-in meeting is going to cost you nothing, but will be really powerful for your people. We have got on our website a book coming out on culture change. If you're like me, sometimes it's where do you start? So there's a great free resource that you can use. You can also scan your badge with our sales team or download it yourselves from our website. And then it just leaves me to say thank you. It's been lovely to be able to talk to you. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to take them either now. No? Huh? Yeah, we do our pulse surveys every 6 months. So again, a learning, we started every quarter. And everyone's like, I ain't got time to answer all of these questions, can we? So we listen to the feedback from our line managers, and we do our people pulse surveys every 6 months now to just give us a temperature check on how people are feeling. Yeah. Any more? I usually get asked the question, how do you engage the most disengaged person? Again, where do you start? But what I would say is have a conversation. Take them for a cup of tea. You know, we can often get the best conversations over a cup of tea or coffee. So talk to them about why they're not engaged. And equally, don't force people. You will always have people in your organisation that aren't engaged, so don't force it. Question? Yeah.
How do I engage people who always say their workload, they're overwhelmed, so they can't attend well-being sessions?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So a great question. Ladies just asked, how do we engage people that say their workload is too much, too busy, they haven't got time to attend? And I think, where would I start with that is by talking to them and their line manager around, is their workload too much? Is there a need for more resource in that team? Is it about their prioritisation of workload? Are they busy being busy, or are they actually busy? And I think it's really understanding what their day in a life looks like, and equally talk to them about what value would they get out of attending a webinar that might then help them. And some of your webinars might be about time management. That might be the wellbeing bit that's really going to help them around helping them to manage their time and prioritising their wellbeing over that. Any more? We haven't got a roaming mic, so I'm the roaming mic, sorry. Yeah. So a question around what wellbeing initiatives have proven successful in our organisation. We've done a variety. So we've done things on webinars on stress, mental health, resilience, time management. Menopause was a great in terms of how many people attended that. And we did it in two ways. We did a management menopause, how to help your managers. And then we did a colleague one as well. And the attendance was great. It was both men and women as well, and the feedback we got was that helped me here and it helped me at home. So I think sometimes when you're doing the webinars, thinking about topics that can help people as a whole person rather than just that person at work. So really think about those topics that can do that. We found as well when we've opened up sessions where peer-to-peer have been able to have conversations about if they're struggling about anxiety or nutrition, which it can be a difficult topic, where the peer-to-peer has been able to open themselves up and said, I went through this in my life, it was really tough. Now that's hard to get to that place, and we've been on a longer journey around wellbeing than most given our organisation, but that's really powerful when you're getting peer-to-peer conversations. Any more? If not, it's been lovely to chat to you. I will be around, or you can reach me out on LinkedIn as well. But thank you very much for your time. I know it's a very warm, sunny afternoon, and I hope you get to enjoy the sunshine for the rest of today and tomorrow. So thank you very much.